When you think about an ecosystem, in the natural world, that's acknowledging the interdependence of everything that is in a forest or is in a preserve or is in the Amazon, any natural environment. There's an interdependence among the plants, among the people in the plants, among the animals in the plants. You can also use ecosystem to mean economic system. And so you have to think of any market as a system. So I saw that and realized that, and really my choice was this was the best system that I saw in our area, which is why Ignition is in Goshen and not in South Bend or Elkhart.
What are some of the ways in which Ignition embodies that system?
Well, it's part of our brand and our marketing strategy. The system itself, meaning if you just went Goshen only or Elkhart only, I don't think the market's big enough to support a record store, a concert venue, a recording studio. It's maybe even doubtful whether it can support the radio, keep the public radio alive. But you have to then see who else is going to benefit from 5,000 people a year coming to Ignition. Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully, if they're coming for a show, they'll at least have dinner. Maybe they'll go out for a drink afterwards. We buy groceries. We buy bathroom products. We buy hardware. We buy sound system. We bought a sound system from downtown Goshen. Thanks, Terry. It becomes if we don't make those choices consciously, then we're just we're no different than the big box stores who are coming in and paying below average wages and taking all the profits and sending it off to corporate headquarters. I was in that world. I understand how that economic system works. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because what's happening in retail and what's happening in music is the same thing. Technology and massive buying power and control, in our case, the record labels and the radio stations, and in the case of retail, Amazon's just crushing everybody. Mm-hmm. They're just destroying them. And if we don't make a conscious choice to do business with each other, mm-hmm. then we will have nothing but a Walmart and a Target on each side of town. Mm-hmm. And they'll be struggling to survive because UPS is the only one that's going to be getting a lot of business from this new transaction.
So then what are some of the community values that need to be recognized or nurtured to be able to support a healthy ecosystem?
Don't take me into the values discussion, okay? I think everybody needs relationships. Mm-hmm. I think everybody, just pure economics, needs food, clothes, entertainment. That's an ecosystem. It doesn't have to be value driven. It can just be economic driven. Mm-hmm. That if we do business with people we know and have a relationship with, mm-hmm. that's much more satisfying than dealing with a cantankerous clerk at one of the big box stores. I mean, hopefully we give you a better buying experience. It's more personal. We try to sell you what you need, not what we want to sell you. It's a different sort of economic relationship, and it's one we're just not conscious of. We just don't know the impact. Mm-hmm. But the impact is huge. The amount of money that's spent in Elkhart County is stunning. But the amount that's spent outside of Elkhart County is staggering. Absolutely staggering. So, on a small scale, something just related to my business, they have casinos. The competition is Chicago, Indianapolis, Ann Arbor, Grand Rapids, Lake Michigan, the Lake House in southern Michigan, Those are all places where economic power or economic volume is being spent. And I think it's just a matter of a conscious choice to say, these are the people I have relationships with. What we have in downtown Goshen is really important. And so, I probably could get it for $10 less online. But I'm going to go over and see Scott at the shoe store. He's got great staff. I buy all my shoes there. And that's a choice that I made when I became part of this ecosystem, and I could see how it operated. So from the very beginning, I tried to knit in the people that I thought would benefit from 100% new audience, record store visitors and concert goers. Yes, we need the Goshen business. The Goshen market can't support either of those ventures. So we're dependent on people coming in and saying, I like that. That's cool. I feel comfortable here. I have this theory that particularly millennials, the data's showing it, they're searching for authenticity. And if you think about it, our world's becoming increasingly fake, inauthentic. Disneyland, Vegas, the shopping mall, Chili's. Not that I got anything against Chili's, but they all look the same. And everybody knows subconsciously that that is fake. And one of the reasons I think people are so excited when they see a vibrant downtown or a record store is I watch them walk in the door. Of course, the music's playing, that helps. But they visibly, their body language, they relax. And they look around and they say, wow, this is really rich. This is, man, everywhere I look, there's something cool here. And they just let their guard down. They slow down. And you go to a Walmart or a Target, it's the exact opposite. It's heads down, I know what I want, bang my way through the store, get it, wait in line, walk 200 yards to my car.
Can you talk about some of the other relationships you have with local businesses?
Well, we needed sponsors, frankly, to keep it alive. So I'm going to give my shout out to Goshen Brewing and to Venturi, who were my first two sponsors. And Venturi said, the nights of your shows are my busiest night other than First Fridays. Well, that's the goal, is my crowd's 100 or 200. That makes that big of a difference in one of the restaurants? Well, we have 3 new restaurants, 2 new bars. Goshen Brewing does really well the night of our shows. We've been buying their beer since Jesse started brewing here. Before Goshen Brewing was open, we served Goshen Brewing beer. We buy all of our groceries for the artist. The artists have various things on their rider. We try to give them things, not like a pack of cigarettes or a bottle of whiskey, although we do that. But we give them Goshen Brewing beer. We get them something interesting, maybe some soap from Soapy Gnome, maybe something from the Maple City Market that's unique, that's healthy, that's not a big prepackaged manufactured thing from outside. So I see the little ecosystem at work, and I think that's the challenge for our community, is for more people than just the stakeholders in this little ecosystem to make those conscious choices. Now, certainly we're going to get hurt if the participants in the little ecosystem don't think this way, or think, I'm just going to buy the cheapest bathroom tissue I can buy. What price could we get for bathroom tissue if we all bought it from Maple City Market? Okay, that might be economically, it might be a wash. I could get it for the same price that I can get it from Quill, or I could get it from Staples or Walmart. But that's generating economic activity in the market for their employees. You see what I mean? Maybe they can stock different things. Maybe they can grow. They just expanded their window and their booth and put in booths. That's how it works. And especially a food co-op, that's how it works.
So what are some other ways or strategies that might be used to stimulate more circulation or more relationships between local businesses?
I think you have to invest the time and energy to form the relationship with those people, to explain that to them. In my case, we've tried with, here's our sponsors, bring your employees to a show, use the loft, spend maybe what you would spend on a Christmas party or a dinner out for your staff, bring them here. And take them to dinner at Venturi's or Goshen Brewing. But I think that you have to sit down with them and you have to say, here's how it works. So we're going to put a coupon on our box office and ticket that you can click through and you can make reservations at Kelly J's. You can get a free appetizer here. So you have to put that, say, here's how we're going to let you access our customers. Let's make a conscious choice. If you want to do a special on the night of Ignition show, or you want to offer something special, or you just want them to know you're open, it's up to you to market to that audience. But I'm going to share that audience with you. The next step in that relationship then would be to say, they share my events on social media. Then we share their events or specials on our social media. Unless our actions, and that's why values aren't enough, unless we take action consciously to make a different choice, then the economic system is going to run for whoever's most powerful and whoever's cheapest.
So are there other things that Ignition does very well that you think other local businesses could learn from and try to emulate?
I think we know our customer base really well. We have a good point of sale system. So I know that 30% of our repeat customers come from over 30 miles away. That's a big number. That's a really important number. I think we do a good job at making this a unique experience, and I think there's a lot of places in town that do that. That it's not just another bar or just another free festival downtown. I think Goshen and the people in this ecosystem are pretty good at making it a unique and a positive experience. Because that's all that's going to win the day. Yeah, we're safe. Yeah, we have free parking. Yes, we're kid-friendly. All of those advantages that we've tried to do don't mean anything if the experience doesn't match the price they pay for it or the money they spend.
You referenced approximately 1,500 core supporters of the downtown economy, maybe 50 core supporters for Ignition.
Correct.
How would you characterize or how would you distinguish those supporters?
I don't want to give you demographics because that's scary, but the generations interact with it. Different generations interact with us in a different way. Let's just say that.
What do you think brings the core supporters of our downtown economy back?
Well, they get what we're talking about. They understand it. They like what's happening in downtown, and to me, those core supporters are, and let's maybe just use a frequency, are going to go visit a brewery at least maybe twice a month, are going to see a concert a month, are going to go out to eat 4 times a month, are going to buy shoes, hardware, guitars, records, coffee. Well, they're going to get coffee daily. I know that. So you get an idea how big the market is by how many people are going through Myron's Place every day. It's about 300 a day. I'd love to have that traffic, but I'm not selling coffee. I'm selling records. They love their downtown, and we have I think we have a good relationship with them because they've had a good experience. I would say those people, when given a choice of things to do, will usually vote to do it in Goshen. Now, with social media, I also know they go to Chicago and Indianapolis and Nashville and cool places too, so you're never going to get it all. But all you want them to do is make an informed and conscious choice about where they're making their dollar votes, because they really are the most powerful vote you have is your dollar vote. That's it. That's going to make or break many of these businesses. And that's why I'm stunned when I hear anecdotal stories of just what an extra 100 people on one night of the weekend does for their sales register. The Elephant Bar just became a sponsor, just like that. Why? We had a sold-out show. The after party went to his place, and they did 5 times the amount of business they normally do on a Wednesday night. Why? Because there was a show at Ignition. So he gets it, and so that's how it works. You have to kind of get it at some point. That's a guess. I don't have any scientific data, but if I add up and I can pull the list of my top 50 customers, 70% of them are from Goshen.
So are there other ways to engage those core supporters further, the ones that are already?
Well, I think you're working on that. I mean, we do it on unfortunately, our economic activity from what we do hasn't been enough to keep the concert series going and make it self-sufficient, but that's pretty normal in the performing arts. Almost every room you look at depends on patrons and sponsors to put on their concert series, or to put on their theater series, or to whatever that is. That just seems to be something that's a bigger problem to solve than just Ignition. So, for us, they become a member, and we give them benefits. We give them free concert tickets, and we give them 10% off everything they buy in the record store, and maybe a shirt. But we did our Goshen Funded campaign last year, and that's what built this stage. That's what finally paid off our soundboard. And that was a big amount of money. That was over $25,000. Now this year we aren't asking for that because we just need to make up a little operating shortfall. We hope to do more advertising with those people who are our sponsors to go after that 30 miles out. That's a harder nut to crack. That's going to take some dollars. So then your mind turns, well, if all of them have as small of an advertising budget as I have, how are we ever going to make an impact? How could we possibly do TV, for example, or do really professional banner ads that follow people around on the internet based on their interests? We're going to have to pool our dollars somehow. And it would be even better if our shared economic activity, if we took 2.5% and said that's what we're going to spend it on. We're going to spend it on bringing people from South Bend, from Michigan City, from Fort Wayne, from Peru, from Kalamazoo, if we could get those people to come here. So we've decided to become part of the card. I'm just going to call it the card. Because if we can keep just the credit card transactions here, then maybe we could make a conscious choice. Who do we want to target, and what's the most effective way to spend those dollars to get more people here, to increase the economic activity? That 2.5% will go up. I think that's a fabulous idea. It will involve more work for the individual businesses, and that's why we've waited till now to join. But the thing that I think you're going to see is when I studied econ at Goshen College, and that's the velocity of money. And a dollar spent creates $3 of economic activity. And I think it's going to be stunning to watch those credits move around between business, because you're going to get an idea of the velocity of money. Because then those business will have those credits. Well, hopefully I'll spend mine with Maple City Market and with Goshen Brewing and Venturi and TG Music and Mighty Mike's across the street here. Those are all places within walking distance of our store.
So what are some of the other best possible positive outcomes of adopting the Common Good Card?
For me, it all comes down to raising the consciousness of your dollar vote. And I think the more conscious you are of your dollar vote, whether it's spending or investing, or which bank you choose to let use your money, I think those are big things. Those are big things. And hopefully, if you can educate people and help them start to see this value, suddenly they realize they're making even bigger dollar votes. There's some really big ticket transactions, a college education, a house, a realtor, you go on and on and on, where thousands of dollars are changing hands, and say, wow, I wonder what that would look like in our little ecosystem if we could keep those dollars here. So I bank with Intera. Okay? Intera gives me the operating line of credit that allows me to buy inventory for the upcoming Christmas season. And I love that it's a member-owned organization. We're working on a business plan with Brad right now to use Maple City Market for both purchasing and for some of the groceries and items we buy for artists. And it's just the awareness. I mean, I like the idea that the dollar I'm letting go of is going to someone I have a relationship with.
Thanks. I think you mentioned you brought up the crowdfunding campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So, are there any reflections from the crowdfunding campaign?
Yeah, I'll never do it again. To me, mostly it's because I see it on the music side, that as that old structure crumbled, meaning the record labels, the radio stations promoting the music, that system's gone. It's been replaced by technology. Crap at the speed of light, okay? It's just about destroyed artists' chance to make a living, or even to make a record. And most of the Kickstarter campaigns that started were around the arts, helping fund the arts. So in that regards, it's a wonderful thing. It's the only thing keeping it alive in many cases. But it is also a statement that we can't generate sufficient capital, or we don't have access to capital to start a business, or that's really what it's saying. And so we got a little bit of blowback from, well, you're a for-profit business. What in the heck are you doing raising money? Well, it's pretty simple. If we don't raise the money, we can't put on concerts. And, you know, and I talk to the people who are supporting the arts, but they're also supporting the concert series at Souter Hall. They're also supporting and sponsoring stages for festivals. They're also members of DGI. It's just the nature of the beast. But ideally, we don't make entrepreneurs and artists dependent on that vehicle to survive. That's what I feel kind of yicky about. We should be paying them. Okay, I mean, you don't have an art scene until your artists are getting paid. And as far as I'm concerned, the person who promotes the show, the person who mixes the sound for the show, the stagehands, the people that set, those are all artists. They're all in the business of making art and selling art. It's one of the reasons we have increased our accessories inventory threefold. It's 100% Goshen artists, and they consign their inventory to our store because they can't afford a point of sale system. They can't afford the credit card processing fees. They can't afford rent. They can't afford store fixtures. We got a store. Let's sell art, because there's a big difference between making art and selling art. The Vibrant Communities push right now, everything you read, it's about quality of life, and it's driven by the arts and entertainment. Over and over and over. They say it. When do we start charging for it? That's the issue. When can that generate economic activity? I mean, I don't think this ecosystem will grow just because we have a lot of artists living in this town, living below the poverty level. That's absurd. That's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. So hopefully, I don't think we do a Goshen funded campaign again. To me, I think that's a great way for people to raise capital, but if that's what people are depending on to stay in their business, their practice, their trade, then that just says there's something wrong with the economic system.
So this kind of segues into two or three ideas that kind of go beyond the economics to span some of the broader inquiry we're doing for the Goshen Guide and the stories we're trying to tell about our community as a whole. Three ideas would be the idea of resilience, and economic resilience in particular, the common good, and what that means when you really boil it down. There's something here that brought that forward, but how do you see that manifest, and is something that we work with? And then the other idea would be, if you would want to come back to it, would be the idea of a triple bottom line. That's something we're advancing in the environmental sector discussions right now, but if you would have an articulation of that. So those are three balls to throw in the air and see if you want.
Okay, well, you're in danger on the triple bottom line. My practice between corporate life and Ignition was I was trained in the natural step as an instructor, and we put a coalition of business leaders together called the Sustainability Coalition. And we used the natural step principles of values and principle-based decision making. That's a choice companies have. We proved that it was economically more profitable to comply with those guidelines, that you saved money. The majority of business people we interacted with, they aren't there yet. So you got to focus on economic sustainability. One of the natural step principles, besides the environmental ones, was it is a closed system. Okay, it's a closed system. Whatever you do inside of that giant terrarium, that giant biodome, is going to affect everybody else in the biodome. So here's your principles. Quit pulling things from the ground, okay, that are toxic. You got to watch your man-made chemicals. You can't degrade natural systems, and people need to have the ability to sustain themselves. Those are the four principles of the natural step. And you just look at your own business and you say, where am I violating those principles? And if I do less of that, then that overall system is going to be healthy. And the reality is, the need to sustain yourself economically overrides all of the other three the majority of the time. Or at least it's used to rationalize doing the other three, violating the other three. But that's ability to sustain yourself, not to become fabulously wealthy, okay? Or so you can buy a yacht. So there's your sustainability model, and it was a powerful model, and we had some companies get some great benefit from that. And I, as a businessman, I always prefer that than to a regulatory approach of we've decided that's bad, you can't do it anymore. And so that's proven to be only moderately successful. And what was that? So that was the third one. Go to the former.
The idea of resilience.
Resilience.
What that conjures up for you, what you mean, or what that means to you, both in terms of community resilience, but also in terms of local economic resilience.
Yeah. Well, I would say that economic resilience, there's a couple huge steps that we have to take if you want to be insulated from the economic hurricanes that will inevitably hit us at some point. It's going to happen. They're like hurricanes in the Gulf. Sooner or later, we're going to have a recession, or the RV industry is going to go bust, or the financial, as we've just learned, the financial system is going to go bust, or the real estate market's going to go bust. So if you put your faith in those staying like they are now, that's probably not a good plan. How do you become resilient to those downturns? Personal economics is the first step. And you got to have an emergency fund. You have to have savings. What's that go back to? Point number 4. That's part of it, of being able to sustain yourself. Majority of the people can't do that. The majority of these people are living check to check. So we're going to be vulnerable to it. And then spending will turn down. Boy, I hope we got a pretty good share of what spending is left. And maybe that is the time where it's the most critical to say, wow, here I am, man. I lost my job. I'm trying to live on unemployment, but I'm still going to buy my shoes downtown. That's when the choices get really tough. But your question, I don't think the Common Good Card or Kickstarter-like campaigns, Goshen funded, they're not going to insulate us. They are not going to insulate us. The only insulation you have would be, let's say this buy local thing includes food production. That's probably our area of biggest vulnerability, where fast and cheap has won the day. Food. Food is adjusted for inflation, has been in deflation. So economically, people's ability to sustain themselves, it's been pretty good for the last 15 to 20 years. Now, whether that food is healthy for you, you see, now you bring in the other categories, man-made chemicals. Well, what good is it to eat an apple that's covered in pesticides? Or what good is it to eat corn that's covered in glyphosate? I mean, why are we doing this to ourselves? So that would be that, and I'm still a huge supporter of community sustainable agriculture because that's a great model. You buy a share of production from a local farmer who it's like that old Portlandia where you can go out and meet the chicken before you eat it. He has a name and he has a little bio that comes with him, but really, you want to be resilient, and it starts with energy and food. And so Solar City, what they're doing in the city to encourage that makes us more resilient. NIPSCO's announced they're asking for a 30% increase in their electricity rates. So much for coal being cheaper. Then that goes back to that choice. Coal is something that's pulled from the ground. I don't want to get my energy that way. Natural gas is better? Not much. So those solutions are available, but only if the people within our little ecosystem, a big enough critical mass says, that's important to me. In fact, that could be mission critical. This is the way we're going to do it. And we're not there yet. But this could be a catalyst for that because we can see, if you see that economic velocity and you see how it's circulating, it's very easy to go from, you hadn't thought about Interra, had you? You hadn't even thought about it. This is what will get us the critical mass. Goshen College. Those kids are poor. Goshen College spends a hell of a lot of money in this community. The salaries of the people at Goshen College who run the college almost all of them are part of that 1,500. They are buy local. They are going to the co-op. They are buying bread from Anna's Bread. They are coming to my concerts. So values. I don't care if they're liberal or conservative. They care about our community. And that's a big plus that Goshen has, I think, is there's a lot of people who see the value just in a strong, caring community.
Any final comments on the Common Good card, or things that you would like to plug in for that to either steer the conversation or encourage people to think about it in a particular way?
Well, just the one idea that I already mentioned, which is what could we do if we use 2.5% of those transactions to market to more people, to grow our market, to expand our market. That's when the dollars will really start to turn. Now, those people won't be using the Common Good card. People from Fort Wayne aren't going to be using the Common Good card. But it'd be fascinating to say that core 1,500 people was the vehicle, spending their dollars here, was the vehicle that got Goshen's population growing, their businesses profitable. I think that's pretty cool. That's the power of economics. Done? Cool.
Thanks, Steve.
Got to go back to work.
Oh, you still got my mic.
Oh, yeah.